criminal justice, healing, education. Let's awaken the people. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or wherever you are currently watching. My name is Holly Sisa. I am the founder of this lovely podcast called Morning Mimosas, where we value human life, criminal justice, healing, and education for the Black and minority communities with a note that we love all people. Guys, excuse me while I adjust real quick. I apologize for that. Before I get this episode started, let me go ahead and tilt my hat the right way because I look like T.I. when he did that, the hat tilt. Um, let's go ahead and start with a few housekeeping tools. As you guys know, I like to do. As you guys know, if you guys would like to, this is Imuna Soaps and Essentials, and the website specifically is imunasoaps.com. If you use the Morning Mimosas code MM23, you will receive 5% off, but you have to make sure that everything you see on the screen applies. So you have to make sure you're doing a minimum purchase of $7, and it applies to all 9 collections. So please, please, please head over to imunasoaps.com, and please remember to use our code MM23 to get 5% off. Remember, minimum purchase of $7. And then another fun thing that I wanted to announce today is my partnership with Ganel's Crafts. I absolutely love Harley and her mother and everything they're doing with their crochet business and everything else that she's doing outside of that. So shout out to Harley Hendricks and Ganel's Crafts. And while I have you guys' attention about that, look at this, guys. If you guys mention Morning Mimosas with Ganel's Crafts, you guys can get 10% off your entire order. Not bad, right? Not too shabby. Like that's a really, really, really good deal. So once again, if you love custom-made crocheted items, head over to Ganelle's Crafts on Instagram, and you will get 10% off your entire order when you mention Morning Mimosas. And as you guys know, this is a custom piece from them that is in the colors of Morning Mimosas. So, guys, today's episode is going to be an interesting one because this case that we're going to be talking about is actually solved. It'll be the case of Eric Somuah, and shout out to Dateline for this picture. Eric Somuah was a 34-year-old man living in Silver Springs, Maryland. He was a car dealership. That's where he worked. He sold cars. He was really, really good at it. He was also a ladies' man. And the reason I mention that is because that's a huge part of this episode. But he is son of Ghanaian immigrants, and he came to this country really, really young. And he was very, very successful up until the day of June 4th, 2012. Now, on that date of June 4th, 2012, um, he was hanging out with this lady here, Katrina Ben. Once again, thank you, Dateline, for this information. He was hanging out with this young lady, Miss Katrina Ben, who was a traveling nurse from Mississippi. They had only known each other for 3 weeks. And this young lady that we see here took his life after knowing him for 3 weeks. Reason why? She felt played because, like I mentioned earlier, Eric Somuah was known to be a ladies' man. And she felt like, even in those 3 weeks, that he shouldn't be doing all that, even though she knew that he was a player. Absolutely ridiculous, her behavior. Because she's a traveling nurse, I kind of wonder if she's done other things other than what she did to Mr. Somuah. I just want to note that even if that statement is true that Mr. Somuah was a player, she had no right to take his life. I need women and men to be able to move on from people that you know are not good for you instead of taking these dramatic measures. So today we will actually be watching a video from Just Thought Lounge, it's a YouTube channel. Shout out to the host of that YouTube channel. He is amazing. Absolutely love him. He gives great information. Once again, shout out to Just Thought Lounge for this next video that we'll be watching. We will watch it throughout this episode because I want you guys to see Katrina Ben's behavior. Once again, this lady who was a well-versatile traveling nurse decided to murder a man she knew 3 weeks. Let's get into it. Let's watch this clip together.
If I was gonna do something like this, it wouldn't be like this. It wouldn't be stupid. How would it be? I think it would be plain.
So I just want you guys to point out the first thing that she said. She said that if she had done this, it wouldn't have been stupid. And then she goes on to say she thinks that it would have been better planned out. Already signs of narcissistic behavior going on here, but let's continue to watch the video.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin and this is Just Thought Lounge. JTL is the true crime channel that delivers serious, well-balanced coverage of the cases that really make you think. Today's case takes us to Silver Spring, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. In the spring of 2012, 34-year-old Eric Somuah was living life to its fullest. He had a successful career, an active social life, and dreams for the future. This all came to an end when this man that everyone loved was found murdered inside his upscale apartment. The motive for the crime was baffling, and evidence was unfortunately lacking. Investigators were left interviewing a sea of people: Eric's many neighbors, his close-knit family, his many friends, and significantly, his many girlfriends. Thankfully, one neighbor would come forward and break the case wide open. This is the disturbing case of Eric Somuah. Let's take a look.
I need you guys to be prepared. This case is very messy. Very messy.
Silver Spring in Montgomery County, Maryland is near to Washington, D.C. It is considered the cultural and arts hub of the state. It is a majority white-collar town with lovely parks, expensive real estate, and a vibrant night scene. It was an area that suited Eric Somuah very well. Eric lived alone at the Viridian Apartments, a building described as a luxury apartment complex. He was the top salesman at the Jaguar and Land Rover dealership in nearby Bethesda. In addition, Eric was seeking to establish his own private at-home healthcare service. Family friends described Eric as not only charming, but ambitious, hardworking, smart, and exceptionally friendly. Everyone who knew Eric really loved Eric. The 5th of June 2012 was a Tuesday. At the Jaguar dealership, Eric's supervisor had come in that morning to find that for the second day in a row, Eric had not turned up for work. Dismissing his absence on Monday as an unscheduled day off, he was now a bit concerned. Eric had not returned any calls or messages, and that was extremely odd. The dealership contacted his brother Michael, who also began trying to reach Eric. Eric was known to be attached to his cell phone. He kept it with him, he checked it regularly, and he liked to stay in contact. That Tuesday morning, knowing that something was not right, Eric's two older sisters, Susie and Cynthia, drove out to Viridian Apartments to check on their brother. When they gained entry to his unit, Susie and Cynthia found Eric. He was tucked away in his bed, a sheet pulled over his whole body nearly to his forehead. At first, it looked as though Eric was simply fast asleep. But this was, unfortunately, not the case. The cause of death was a single gunshot wound into the top of the head. His position in the bed led to immediate reactions that he could have died by suicide, an assumption suggested by law enforcement to his sisters that morning. There were a few reasons why suicide was unlikely, the most obvious of which was that there was no gun found on or near the bed, or anywhere in the apartment. The placement of the shot also rendered this extremely unlikely. This was clearly a murder. Eric, the frequent cell phone user, had made his last recorded call on his phone that night at 1:38 a.m. He was alive until that late hour. When the police made a thorough search of the apartment, however, no cell phone could be found. A shell casing was left, visible on the bed. Eric had been shot with a .380 handgun, which, just like his cell phone, had been taken from the apartment. The state of the apartment itself essentially eliminated the likelihood that there had been a burglary. Likewise, there were no indications of a struggle of any kind. When the police responded to the apartment, everything was secured. The apartment door had not been kicked in or damaged in any way. There was no sign of violence anywhere aside from the scene in the bedroom. There were valuables out in the open, including money, credit cards, and a laptop. There were also credit cards and some jeans in the closet. All signs pointed to the murderer not being an intruder, but rather someone with access to the apartment. The motive was something other than larceny, but what could it possibly be? It was inconceivable to Eric's siblings that anyone would wish to harm the 34-year-old, their baby brother. The son of immigrants from Ghana, Eric had set his sights on a kind of American dream. Career success, a nice home, great friends, and a bright future. By many accounts, he was living this dream. Eric also had an active social life. His sisters may not have been privy to all the details, but Michael was. He was not just his older brother, but also Eric's best friend. Michael knew that Eric was a ladies' man. He was a regular at a local bar where employees reported that Eric was known to leave with a different woman more nights than not.
You guys heard that, right?
The lead detective on Eric's case, Dimitri Rubin, first suspected that Eric's romantic entanglements would lead him to the killer. The scene suggested that the murder was committed by someone who knew him. It appeared calculated and personal. The Somuah family directed Detective Rubin to a woman who had been romantically involved with Eric for some time. Her name was Denise Harrington. About 20 years Eric's senior, Denise was independent and successful. The two had reportedly met when she visited the Jaguar dealership looking for a new car. They hit it off immediately. But Denise was not well liked by the family, perhaps due to her age and lack of interest in building her own family, but she was the most consistent and committed romantic relationship that they knew of in Eric's life. Over a year after they met, their relationship was on the rocks. Denise told police that they were heading towards a breakup and that she had already told Eric that that is what she wanted. She had viewed at least one text message between her boyfriend and a woman named Ashley, which had prompted a fight and her decision to split. But she knew that Ashley was only one of many other women that Eric had been spending time with. There was someone named Tiffany as well, and there were the women he met out at the bar.
So, guys, I'm actually going to fast forward to his meeting with Katrina Ben because that's what we're focused on today. We're focused on the behavior of the crime, which was committed by Katrina Ben. So let me head over to where we start talking about her.
こんにちは、司令官先輩。一人ぼっちで寂しいの？なら、アニメファンや
Apologize
最
for
強
the
軍用機での
commercial.
Katrina Ben had moved into the building only a few months earlier. She was a traveling nurse originally from Mississippi who relocated frequently for work. She was exactly the type of professional that might benefit from Eric's concept for his private healthcare business. As detectives canvassed the building, they learned that Katrina and Eric had in fact bonded over more than business. The two had become an item over the preceding few weeks, spending more and more time together.
Let's pay attention to
Investigators
her
had the
behavior.
unfortunate task of breaking the news to Katrina that Eric had been murdered.
I just want to start again by saying just thank you. You don't have to be here. Thank you for doing this. So let's. Yes.
You guys see
And how did you
here?
react?
I met Eric outside like 2 weeks after I had been there, and he asked me if I was a nurse because he was starting some kind of agency, nursing agency, kind of like what I work for.
The two had connected through a love of basketball. They had gotten together to watch games every Monday night. And as the weeks went by, the nights that they spent together increased. In the days leading to Eric's death, they had spent a significant amount of time together. first on the Thursday night, then again on Sunday, and again on Monday, though notably not on either Friday or Saturday. It was logical for Katrina to be confused by Eric's lack of communication after she left his apartment in the early morning hours on Tuesday, the day he died.
Making calls on Tuesday? Am I the last person? Can you tell me that? I mean, I don't know if he stopped calling me or if he wasn't answering because he was dead. Because I've been depressed and suffering and mad and crying because I'm thinking he's not talking to me. We've been like this.
I just want to point out her behavior. As you guys know, she's currently being interrogated by 2 Silver Springs detectives. Or not even interrogated. She's being a good neighbor by providing information. Did you guys notice that she starts to make things about herself? That is definitely a narcissistic trait, especially because we all find out later that she's the one that killed him. You notice that the beginning of that discussion, she says, "I don't care, I don't care, I don't care." Like, girl, bye. Sorry, I just had to say it like that because I'm like, girl, you're just full of it. Like everybody knows what you did to Eric. But let's continue watching Miss Katrina Ben and the discussion that she has with these 2 Silver Spring detectives.
To settle my heart,
I think your heart can be settled.
It was possible that Katrina was the last person to see Eric alive, but there were questions surrounding who else may have been present that night and what exactly went down. Katrina explained that Eric had suggested they take a drive to meet with a man he knew, ostensibly a drug dealer named William Woodfork. She said they drove out to meet this man, who then promptly jumped into the back of Eric's car with them. The exchange made her very uncomfortable.
And the guy got out. All this happened before the light could even go out in the car. Because I'm thinking, if you're going to do something like this, turn the light out. Somebody might see me. I work at NIH. I don't want to be identified in something like this. Bald.
Just very, just into herself. Like, oh, I don't want to be seen. I hope that they turn off the lights, because allegedly Eric Somuah that night they were watching an NBA game. Her and him went to Eric's weed dealer to get some weed, and she didn't want to be seen in that kind of situation because she's a traveling nurse, right? So that's what that whole situation is about. Let's continue listening to Miss Ben, excuse me.
And he's about my color, skinny guy, scruffy beard. I didn't see his face straight on. I wasn't trying to look at him directly. I'm not trying to look like I want to know who you are.
The encounter with William Woodfork in the car was not the last time that Katrina saw the man that night. She rose at about 5 a.m., a bit earlier than usual because she needed to get gas on her way into work. When she left, William was in the living room of Eric's apartment, seated on the couch. Eric remained fast asleep in the bedroom. She offered no explanation as to why William had turned up at Eric's home in the middle of the night, though she stated that she had awoken at one point to see them through the door that sat slightly ajar, speaking in muffled tones in the living room.
It didn't make sense to me because I was thinking, why is he here? It was just a little uncomfortable. It just seemed a little weird.
William Woodfork denied to investigators that he knew a man named Eric Somuah. He also insisted that even if he did do business with Eric, that there's no way that he would know his home address.
Exactly.
However, call logs from Eric's cell phone provider confirmed that he knew William. He had in fact called him on the night of his death, just as Katrina had reported. William was clearly lying to police. When a search warrant was obtained for his residence, detectives discovered a small safe, inside of which they found a handgun, a .380, the same kind used to kill Eric. William's .380 was promptly tested. Despite what was looking like a mounting case against the weird man, the results came back negative. It was not the gun used in the murder. Moreover, his alibi was solid. Detectives put him far away from the Viridian apartment complex in Silver Spring that night. There also appeared to be no discernible motive. Katrina Ben, it would seem, was the one who was lying. And purposefully misleading the investigation. Detectives pulled the surveillance footage from the Viridian lobby and other entrance and exits, and they found her timeline did not exactly line up either. Katrina was captured leaving the garage at approximately 6:34 a.m. Tuesday morning. She was then shown returning at 7:05 a.m. When she returned, she parked in front of the building, got out and walked through the lobby, and then returned to her car 5 minutes later. She explained that she had forgotten her cell phone in Eric's apartment. This meant that she was at the scene of the murder close to 2 hours after she claimed that she had awoken and left. If she was not the killer, she must have encountered them within moments of being inside the apartment. 2 weeks after the murder, detectives had turned their attention squarely to the grieving girlfriend who spoke glowingly about Eric when she first learned of his tragic death. But was she truly expressing shock and distress at this horrific news?
What happened?
No. She was such a liar.
You asked me if I saw the police. Can y'all just please tell me what happened?
Well, like I said, I think I told you that he was murdered.
All of this is like me messaging him.
That's fine.
Thinking he's just ignoring me, so you can take it all. I knew I wouldn't
His
go see him again. I
behavior.
would have woke him up.
Katrina Ben's behavior is very disgusting. She's like, oh, I would have woke him up. I thought he was ignoring me. Knowing the whole time she's the one that ended Eric Somuah's life. Just watching her talk to the detectives and just throughout this whole case is just very, very disturbing. And she's exactly where she needs to be. I will play a little bit more and then we will discuss a little bit more about her behavior.
We can't really tell you what's going on with the investigation, and the reason is because you're a witness.
Oh my God.
Well, I think we can tell you where it happened.
He was killed in his apartment.
This guy has so many goals and so many dreams. It's just crazy. It's like he was having the best time in his life. Now he's dead.
Wow.
Police seized her computer and tracked the usage of her Facebook account in the period after Eric's death and before speaking with the police. They found that she had visited Eric's Facebook page during this time, through which she would certainly have learned that he was dead. When approached by officers at her building 4 days later, however, and was asked to speak to them about Eric, she responded, "Eric who?" Only then did she add, "Why? What happened?" Katrina had relocated to Baltimore. Her apartment was searched thoroughly and no gun was found. She had never registered a handgun in her name, and she even denied having ever fired one. Detective Reuven was certain that he had narrowed in on the likely killer, but the only evidence he had was circumstantial. They had searched her home and found no weapon or any other physical evidence linking her to the crime, like Eric's missing cell phone.
All right, so the focus of that was I wanted you guys to see that interrogation that she did. Everything else I will fill in. So a little bit after that, a gun was found on the side of a road and was turned in by a concerned citizen. After they did ballistics on the gun, they found out that it was a 380, just like the weapon the drug dealer had. And then they did some tracing and they found out that the gun came from Canton, Mississippi. Who is from Mississippi, guys? Miss Katrina Ben. So, Detective Reuben, and shout out to him, he did his due diligence. He went to a lot of pawn shops in Mississippi and he traced that gun. He did not stop until he finally got to the final place that he was able to get the information. And then somebody faxed over the owners of the gun, and the last owner of the gun was, other than dun dun dun, Katrina Ben. So, Miss Katrina Ben was arrested. Long story short, she got life without parole, was 20 years for her crime. One of the things that's very, very disturbing about this case, though, is at her sentencing, she tried to utilize, she tried to give a eulogy of Eric. And she tried to tell the family that I'm so sorry for your pain that she caused. So she was still not taking full responsibility for what she did to this young man who had the rest of his life ahead of him. So the reason I decided to talk about this episode today is because I want you guys to be aware of behavior when it comes to crime. This lady was a successful woman, a successful traveling nurse, well versed, very educated, and she became stupid for a man that she knew for 3 weeks and killed him. So I need you guys to be aware. I need you guys to look at the signs. Not everybody that looks like they got it together, got it together. Okay? Nurses, doctors, police officers, judges, all of them. All of them are bad. I'm just saying you have to make sure that just because you see somebody that has a certain status, that doesn't mean that they have it all the way in here. Because like I said, she was a traveling nurse. She just moved to that area. She knew him for 3 weeks and she killed him. Now she's in a Maryland prison for the rest of her life because she couldn't control her behavior for knowing somebody for 3 weeks. So the message for today is, ladies and gentlemen, please always look at behavior, okay? Don't look at somebody and be like, oh, that person is the president of a big organization. They have it all together. No, mental health is a real thing. Obviously, she had some undiagnosed mental problems. The fact she was able to kill a man that she only knew for 3 weeks because she felt played. But let me also say this. I'm not saying that Eric playing her was a good thing. You should never play with anyone's emotions. But Eric Somuah was upfront with her. That's the only difference. He knew what was going on. She knew what was up, and she still killed the brother. It's just a very, very sad situation. We hope here at Morning Mimosas that the Somuah family is in a good direction of healing. And for the Ben family who still believe that their loved one is innocent, have to tell you guys that sometimes your family members aren't good people, and some of them do stupid shit, like Miss Katrina Ben did. Rest in love, Mr. Eric Somuah. Sorry that you had to be killed by a crazy woman because she didn't understand the conversation that you guys clearly had. She understood what her position was, and she still wanted to be more. So, rest in peace to Mr. Eric Somuah. We hope you are finally at peace. You did not deserve what happened to you. So, as you guys know, this is Morning Mimosas, where we value human life, criminal justice, healing, and education for the Black and minority communities, with a note that we love everyone. Until next time, see you guys later.